Today what we're going to be going over is a skin fade using nothing but detachable blades. So we're going to lay this down about wavelength, medium height. Detachable blades is the only clippers I'm going to use. We'll put our levels in, fade going up, just so you can see how that's done. It's pretty much the same system, whether it's low, medium, or high with this detachable fade system. But for just the sake of presentation and education purposes, I'm going to leave it middle fade. And we'll complete this, and you'll be able to transition and see the transition from one side to the other, and hopefully have a solid understanding on how to do it. It's the same system no matter what, because you're dealing with blades who don't even have adjustables, but I'm going to show you how to reduce and fade and give yourself a smooth transition. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this 5-0, which is also equivalent to an outliner blade. If you've watched my guard chart explanation, I explained that. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to use this 5-0 and create that first line. So we're going to create our first initial guideline. And as you can see with these, it's real smooth cut. I like to use these, especially when you're doing like routine cuts in the shop every week. People kind of get this same thing every time they come. Real smooth to just take this, and especially for skin fades, I really like to use detachable blades when we're doing skin fades, especially if they're got like, you know, wavelength on top, something like that. It's just the most efficient. And you know, as I talk about a lot, I'm always into creating speed and efficiency on all haircuts. So I'm always looking for the best possible system to use. So detachable blade for skin fades with wavelength on top, that's my system of choice. That's my system of choice for sure. As you can see, I'm just keeping it clean. All right, we have our first guideline pretty much put in. So just for clarification, if I were to take an outliner, do the same thing, it's not doing anything. It's pretty much, you don't even really hear no noise like that. You might hear a little bit from the clipper, but you don't really hear nothing cutting, because it's all pretty much the same. All right, now I'm gonna put my levels in going all the way around, but I'm only gonna fade one side just so we can keep the video short. Our next level is we're gonna skip our 000, which is what I explained on the guard chart. If you have to go back to that just to, you know, for clarification, you can, but I'm going to the OA now. So I'm gonna put this level in, this next level in with the OA. So we went from a 5-0, we skipped a 000, and now we're gonna be at an OA. And as you can see, whenever I'm teaching detachable blades, I always like to leave a little knuckle length of space. Is what I call a fading zone. So I like to leave that much space in between my levels, because what that does is that gives me a smooth transition. A lot of times barbers have trouble and they run their lines in together and they end up with a bowl cut because they don't leave enough spacing. In order to get a quality cut, or a quality fade I should say, you need quality spacing. So now we're gonna put our next level in, which we skipped over. We went 5-0, skipped over 000, put the OA in. Now we're gonna skip a 1 and we're gonna put a 1A in. A 1A or a 1 1/4. It's the same thing, just a different label. I get asked that question a lot. You know, people say, well, hey, what's a 1A or what's a 1/4? They're the same exact thing, just different label. I think the Oster blade shows 1A and the Andis blade shows 1 1/4, I believe, once Andis got their own branded detachable blades. So now we skipped over the 1 and went to the 1A. Then we're gonna skip over that 1.5, which would be next, and go to a 1 3/4. Right? And go up even higher. Now, a 1 3/4, they just made this probably a couple years ago, but even before that, you could really go from a 1.5 into a 2. But a 1 3/4 just kind of does the same exact thing as a 1 1/4 or a 1/8 does, as far as after the 1.5. So it's basically 1 3/4 versus 1 1/4. But what that does is it just makes the detachable blade fade system like dummy proof. So it's like super, super easy now. All right, so we just did that. That's pretty much done. Now all I'm gonna do is cut the top down a little bit. Now, normally I would cut the top down first to the desired length, but I decided to do it differently this way. But before we start our fading, we definitely need to make sure we have our bottom level set and our top level set before we start to finish the blend. Now, if you're gonna put the levels in, you can do that whenever you want. But before you start fading it, the bottom level needs to be set, all the other levels, and the top level. That way you know if you're going from skin to the 3rd floor, you need to know what guards that you're gonna be using for the haircut to complete it. So my client here, he likes it wavelength. So we're going to cut it down wavelength. So I'll start here with a 1.5. Whenever I'm going and trying to keep waves in, I'm always going with the grain. So I'll cut this entire top down with the 1.5. Okay, now we have everything cut down. We cut it down wavelength. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start to blend from the top down. So just to review, we have the 0, right, which is pretty much outliner or 5-0. Then we had, right past that, we had our OA. Then we had our 1A, and then we have our 1 3/4 because we skipped over to 1.5. All right, so now all of those guards that I explained to you when we were putting our levels in that we skipped, those are gonna be what takes place of if we were doing an adjustable clipper with the lever opening and closing. We're gonna use the guards that we skipped to reduce, but use them going on the angle and the X motion that I teach to eliminate the lines and fade. So it's almost like when I say X motion, it really means like crossing it out. So we'll do that. But we're gonna start with the highest guard that we skipped and walk it down. I teach it like this because this is very, very simple, fundamental system that a beginner can learn like easy. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm just gonna show you. So basically we took a 1.5 with the grain. And as I told you before, even on the guard chart, when you take a look at it, I don't use anything higher than a 2 with detachable blades, simply because I don't like the way they cut once they get higher than a 2. Okay, so this detachable blade system is for skin fades, lower style haircuts. It's an efficient system and it cuts speed down tremendously. So that's what I use it for. Not saying you can't use it for other styles. It's just the most efficient in my eyes to do it like this on a lower style haircut. All right, so we have a 2 on here. As you can see, this is a 2. And we're just gonna blend the side out now. And as you can see, I'll be using the corner of my blade and I'll be on an angle, right? So the corner, so when I say the corner, if I slow it down, you can see that. Now see, when I'm going fast, you think I'm just using the whole blade. I'm really not, okay? Now, as you can see how dark this is and then how light this transition is starting to show. So we're gonna do that. Right? All the way around we can do. But I'm gonna do half of the head just so you can see it. And then we'll compare it to the other side. Each level that we do, we'll compare it so you can see exactly what is going on. So, as you can see, following this system, it just gradually fades out as we go down. It's gonna gradually fade out. All right? Now we're gonna go to that 1 3/4. Same thing. Corner of the blade on an angle. Not using the whole blade, just a little bit. Take that off. See how quick that was? Now we're gonna do 1 1/2. Remember, 1 1/2 is what we skipped. So what you take the blade in with, you have to take it out with. So we put our levels in with, that's what we have to take that initial guideline out with. But reducing in between comes from the guard that you skipped. Okay? So we skipped this 1 1/2. So this is gonna do some reducing. And when I say skipped, I mean when we initially were putting our levels in, we skipped it. All right? Now 1A, real soft, real light, using the corner, because we put our initial level in with this. So now all we're trying to do is just X motion to eliminate that guideline after we use the 1 1/2 to reduce it. All right. Now we're gonna go to the 1. Remember, we skipped the 1 because we went from OA to 1A, remember? Now we're gonna take the 1 and start reducing that OA line, or that OA guideline that we initially put in, right? And as I told you, I'm not using the whole blade when I'm blending, only when I put my levels in. So I'm using just the corners in the X motion. Right? So you see how the blend is coming out. Now we're gonna go down to that OA. Same exact thing. Same exact thing, same exact format. Each level, we're walking it down. Say if you took the clipper guard chart and you had it in front of you, and you just walk down the blades with this same exact system that I'm showing you, it's pretty much like you can't mess up because you're just following what the chart says. And now we'll take the 000 that we skipped, because that was just the OA that we just did. Now we'll take the 000, right? But you see pretty much everything is almost blended out. We got this little faint line right here, right? But we put that in with the outliners, remember? And then we went from, or the 50, outliner 50, same thing. And we skipped and went to the OA. So now we're coming back with this 000, the one that we skipped. And this is gonna reduce this line at the bottom here, right? It's not gonna take it all the way out. You know why? Because we didn't put it in with this. It's just reducing it, it's setting it up. It's almost like if you want to compare it to like something like boxing, right? Where a boxer usually sets a person up with the jab and then kind of, tries to catch them to knock them out with the left or the right hook. That's all we're trying to do. So we're reducing, in a sense, with this 000, and we're going to knock the line all the way out with exactly what we put it in with, which is the 50 or the outliner. And we're gonna use our corner, again, the same exact way. The same exact way. All right? See that? How's that looking? Pretty good, right? We don't have no line nowhere. Now I'm just using my corners, and I take the line out. Look at that. Right? Now here's some comparison, right? You see back here? How does that side look versus that side? Now I'm gonna line him up and we'll do the other side, and should be good. But that's how you complete a fade. Just repeat the same exact process on the other side.